Spelunky 2. Man, where do I even start? Spelunky 2 has got to be one of the best games that I've ever played. It's a game that's super casual, but also feels pretty hardcore. Spelunky 2 is a 2D roguelike where your goal is to explore a bunch of caves in different biomes, uncover secrets, and escape at the end of the caves while gathering gold, avoiding or taking on enemies, and even navigating through boss battles. You run through randomly generated levels, avoiding or eliminating enemies, acquiring as much gold as possible to purchase useful items, and engage in boss battles until you reach the very end of the caves. The primary goal being escape the caves and with as much gold as possible. Spelunky is pretty straightforward. The rules and mechanics of the game are quite simple, though mastering Spelunky is a whole other art form. You know that if you were to break a vase open, there is a chance that you may spawn an enemy, but despite having this knowledge, you might feel inclined to rush through a level breaking open vases as if there are no consequences. Similarly, if you have lost your life due to various traps spread throughout the level, you may feel more inclined to give more attention to the level layout a bit more. Though all these things are true, due to various circumstances and unique situations you are put into in this game, it makes it very easy to throw you off your game and a small mistake slip into the cracks. Whether it be by an overwhelming amount of enemies on the next floor, or being chased by an enemy on one side but also having to avoid a trap on the other, or simply due to time constraints. There will always be a tiny piece of failure that will slip in the cracks, and boy does Spelunky know how to capitalize on your errors. I have had the pleasure of enjoying this game for numerous years now. It feels like no matter how much I have experience in this game, I still find ways to perish in the very first level. I'm a disgrace, I know. Luck can play a huge part in how successful a run goes. A majority of the time, it can be the small details that either lead to your victory or demise, such as spotting the right traps or accumulating enough health as the levels go on, but we also need to acknowledge the RNG involved. There are many shops that a player will encounter throughout their playthrough, and the fate of a run can change majorly depending on the type of items you acquire. High ticket items such as the jetpack, teleporter, and last but certainly not least, the Ankh. The jetpack allows you to traverse to hard to reach locations and avoid difficult or frustrating enemies altogether. The teleporter is sort of self-explanatory, but it allows you to teleport from one side of a wall to another, either allowing you to move up a floor or past a wall that may be restricting you from obtaining gold, items, or pets. Finally, one of the bigger items to attain is the Ankh. To sum up, short and sweet, if you die, you get to resurrect. But just once. This game definitely challenges your skills and decision-making abilities. Which route is going to be the best route for me? Is this route going to be optimal versus going another? If I take a risk here, will the payout be enough? Or will it be a lost cause and result in my defeat? All of these are careful considerations a Spelunky veteran will eventually ask in their lifetime to give themselves the best opportunity to succeed. You can go at your own pace, but don't take too long or Casper will come out to play. In Spelunky, you can go at your own pace, but spending too much time looting will spawn a ghost that will end your run with just his delicate touch. The beauty behind this is that it prevents from spending too much time in one level and also forces mistakes. Spending too much time in a level may allow the player the chance to get bored or extinguish the sense of urgency that makes a big part of Spelunky feel like Spelunky. It also forces you to get good real quick and forces the player's hand. It puts even the best of players in a position to make bad decisions in the heat of the moment when the clock is running out and the ghost is getting closer and closer, just like the end of your run if it gets too close. Spelunky comes with a lot of frustrations, similar to the way a Souls game does, but in its doing so also allows your triumphs to feel like the most magnificent of victories, especially when you fail time and time again. Even though the world is randomly generated every time you die, there will always be a direct path to the goal, so you never need to worry about having to blow up structures or needing a rope to get to the end of the level. No matter what, there is always a way forward. The only times you do need to be careful though is when you voluntarily go out of your way to explore the deeper ends of the region. Doing so might require use of a few more resources, whether that's to create a fresh way forward or to return to your original path. Despite the game's code always allowing a way forward, this doesn't exactly mean that the path that lies ahead is going to be unchallenged. Items can be crucial and can greatly influence the approach you take in any given run. A lack of high-level items will not hurt you by any means. Beating the game with low-caliber weapons and equipment is still most certainly possible. Though, the game gets a lot more interesting otherwise, because by acquiring them, you open more routes for success. By that logic, you also open up more potential for failure. Spelunky allows you to fail forward. Make a mistake, you better learn from it the next go around, and you most certainly will. When you fail, Derek Yu makes sure you failed loud and proud, leaving this experience deeply ingrained in your mind. Hopefully it prevents you from making the same mistake twice. Failure in Spelunky 2 feels like you're a kid witnessing your parents getting a divorce right before your eyes. You're just trying to figure out how the hell it got to this point and why you never saw it coming. Though the pain hurts so deeply, it's also the reason why the game feels so good. If you're going to feel a certain way about a game, you may as well make your players feel a strong emotion versus a weak one, whether it's good or bad. Sometimes it's better to have people talking about your game in a bad way rather than not talking about it at all. In Spelunky's case, it invokes the feeling of pain due to the progress lost after a bad run. You try and you die, then die some more. After endless attempts, it is sometimes very easy to want to put the game down, and in many cases you do. The thing about it though is that you never let go of the game for too long. Something about this experience is so powerful and so joyful, there is no way in hell you don't come back for more. You know exactly why you messed up last time, and you know what to do to prevent it from happening. All you need to do is change up your execution and you'll be set on a path to success. Says every Spelunky player ever. Just one more run. Said every Spelunky player ever. That's right, folks, it's one of these games. No matter how hard to defeat, the smell of victory is never too far away. We always say to ourselves, if I can just make sure to avoid these traps, or if I were to just pick up this one specific weapon, and if I can just sacrifice 2 more turkeys. We always say this thinking that things will change. If we can hold true to our own rules, our own boundaries, we'll be able to make it all the way. And this is the trap we fall into. Dare I say, this trap is one I find to be quite beautiful. I don't mind feeling the constant need to try and try again. Being able to be so persistent in a way that allows me to attain a higher level of discipline, to be able to persevere despite the many challenges that await, giving myself the opportunity to dwell on my own imperfections as a player and look introspectively to really understand the changes and behavioral adjustments necessary to give me the gold medal at the end of the day feels like a feat that not many games allow me personally to do. Make me work for the win. Give me something to grind, something to work towards. Not for the reward, but for the opportunity to grow my skills as an individual. The first time I ever started playing Spelunky, I wanted to jump out of my window, repeatedly, because this game is just so damn difficult. There is so much you don't know, just so much to learn. Every death feels like you just lost a year off of your life, and the pain becomes so unbearable. The beauty of being persistent, though, is that eventually you will learn what kind of traps to look out for, the kind of behaviors enemies have, and the best strategies to move on to the next level. You begin to understand what is important and what is trivial. Distinguishing the two early on to your playthrough is no easy feat, but as the deaths begin to pile up, so too does the knowledge you acquire. There are many different paths you can take to get to the same goal. Depending on the path you take will ultimately change the kind of environment you explore, the enemies you encounter, and the kind of secrets you can uncover. There are Easter eggs hidden in each of these biomes, and depending on which you explore will allow you to find new and unique secrets. Once you choose one path, you are set in it until you complete it or fail in the saddest way possible. The thing that makes Spelunky extremely unique is the fact that it appears that all of the mechanics work together seamlessly. Like every single possibility you could possibly think of happening between 2 items or NPCs will happen if you just give it a try. There are so many different mechanics working together in ways you would never believe. This is true in both Spelunky 2 and its predecessor, Spelunky. I've been playing the Spelunky series for years now, primarily with my best friend, and every time we play, we are just astonished because it feels like we end up unraveling a brand new secret or a new Easter egg each and every time we play. In my opinion, the most beautiful thing about this game is how well the mechanics work together, even when they seem like they don't really pair up. For instance, take the arrow traps. Spelunky is very well known for its vicious arrow traps. The more you play the game, the more you can anticipate their presence. But there are also times where the traps are just hidden very, very discreetly. On one run, I accidentally set off a trap and didn't realize it until it was too late. I also failed to see there was a vase in between the trap and myself. If you don't know, a vase can hold gold and gems, items like ropes and bombs, but most dangerously of all, enemies like spiders, skeletons, snakes, and poisonous scorpions. In this particular vase was a scorpion, but I didn't realize it until it was too late. The trap was set off and out flies an arrow. before it hits me, it hits the vase that contained a poisonous scorpion. The arrow killed the poisoned scorpion, but what's most terrifying is that after piercing it, the arrow took some poison for the road from the scorpion, thus now rendering the plain arrow a poisoned arrow. So when the arrow hit me, I not only lost half of my health, I had now become poisoned. The only way to get rid of poison is to lock lips with an animal in distress at the end of a level. By saving animals at the end of a level, you can acquire health, but they also take your poison away. This is just so crazy to me. What seemed like might just be another trap I had failed to recognize ended up being a moment of complete surprise and uniqueness. It might not seem insane to you guys, but in the moment, with the series of events that took place and everything I've already witnessed after playing this game for so long, I thought I had discovered it all. Turns out, behind every corner of Spelunky lies a unique experience ahead, despite everything you have already come to know, learn, and love about this game. Another one of my favorite things about Spelunky 2 is how the different enemies work against each other or with one another, and also seeing how items can interestingly enough pair up well with some of the enemies or even some of the pets. Like you'll see freaking cavemen riding on turkeys and mummies attacking your homies. I even saw a snake poison a shopkeeper. Then that shopkeeper tries shooting the snake but accidentally hits the bomb that he was selling that's in his own shop. And so, now that he blew it up, he ends up dying because he was within the blast radius. And now all the other items in his shop that survived the explosion are free, so RIP to the shopkeeper, but I'm taking your stuff, bro. Also, sometimes the items left behind can be a complete game changer. Oh, got a jetpack? You no longer really have to concern yourself with ropes because this bad boy can take you wherever you need to go. Mount Everest? Don't mind if I do. Teleporter? I'm traveling through walls and floors to get to my exit quickly. Just be careful about your positioning though, otherwise you might become one with the walls. Pickaxe? In my opinion, that's also a complete game changer. A little underrated. Break through any space to get to your destination much more quickly or to obtain a certain item. The biggest thing for me though is the ability to create your own path. This is so vital to success because your current path might be filled with a shit ton of enemies with one goal in mind: beat your ass. And avoiding taking damage in this game is so important because the more you stack your life, the more chances you give yourself to make mistakes. And one thing about this game is that if you make a mistake, you will definitely be punished for it. So, the more grace you give yourself, the better. Risk and reward. Spelunky teaches you that there is a trade-off for every decision you make. Should I risk saving an animal for an extra life? Would it be worth it? What if on the way to saving a dog, you get attacked by a snake or some bats, and now you've lost 2 health just trying to gain 1 by saving that animal? Just by walking away, you could have remained neutral, but now you're down 2 health and are much more susceptible to making more mistakes since you are on edge due to the life impact and potentially upset with the trade-off just not working in your favor. You never know what kind of decisions you make that might seem tiny but end up having a strong, long-lasting impact. Do I risk saving an animal for an extra heal, or try to go the distance and create a wider gap between myself and death? Spelunky 2 combines simple mechanics with complex, unpredictable interactions, making each run a balance between strategy, skill, and luck. The game's structure of randomized levels keeps players on their toes, encouraging adaptability. Items like the jetpack and Ankh provide advantages that feel monumental, while also introducing opportunities for overconfidence and mishaps. The game's unforgiving nature drives players to learn and improve from each failure, offering a fail-forward approach that fuels its addictive nature. Building on the success of its predecessor, Spelunky 2 has helped establish the genre's emphasis on high difficulty, procedural generation, and mastery over time, inspiring games like Dead Cells and Hades. By combining a complex ecosystem of traps, enemies, and items, Spelunky 2 creates a dynamic world where even veteran players face unexpected challenges, preserving a sense of discovery and surprise. Spelunky 2 can evoke a roller coaster of emotions, from frustration at repeated failure to the satisfaction of a hard-won victory. The game's challenging nature makes every success feel meaningful, and its randomness ensures each run is unique. As players progress, they refine their strategies and develop an instinct for spotting traps and handling enemies, fostering a rewarding sense of growth. Spelunky 2 is a game that rewards persistence, patience, and adaptability. With each death, players gain insight and prepare for the next attempt, driven by the promise of just one more run. Its brutal fairness and unpredictability make it a game that players can't help but return to, honing their skills each time. This is a game that pushes players to grow and adapt, ultimately delivering a satisfying and memorable experience. What has been your experience with Spelunky 2? Do you find the difficulty a refreshing challenge, or has the frustration ever pushed you away? Share your favorite or worst moments, and let's talk about what makes this game so addictive.